time to cover some financial news. Some good stuff going on in the world of finance. Yesterday, things were a little bit down. Inflation was a little bit hotter than expected, which is, the Fed's going to delay probably a little bit on doing rates. So that's kind of damaged the market over the last few days. But the Dow finally broke its sort of 6 days sort of semi-losing streak. It wasn't like terrible, but it was still, 6 days in a row kind of sucks. But, stocks are a little bit down today. Things are looking generally still good, though, for the market. The market's still way up for the year. But one stock in particular is having a really rough time. And that's Donald Trump stock, DJT. The Trump media stock is in the fucking toilet. And I know it's terrible news for Donald. Terrible news. It's down, but I bet against it. I basically, went in.
Dumps. In Michigan and Pennsylvania.
So, took my dumps. And, yep, I'm kicking ass right now. But let's jump into this because his stock is tanking hard.
Tonight, Truth Social tanking. Donald Trump shares today plunging more than 8. Tonight, Truth Social tanking. Donald Trump shares today plunging more than 18%. The latest plunge coming amid news that the social media company is putting another 21.5 million shares up for sale. Companies bleeding money, so they want to issue more shares to raise the money. But of course, when you issue new shares, that means the already existing shares get diluted, they lose value. And the share price has already fallen by half. Trump himself has actually lost almost $3 billion since Truth Social went public less than 3 weeks ago, all on paper. Out front now, Dan Alexander, the senior editor at Forbes.
So here's what happened. Two things happened. She didn't cover the second thing. The first thing was, we're losing money, so we're going to issue more stock. What you do, though, when you issue more stock, is it lowers the price.
Sure. The idea being, hey, we're just going to create more shares so people can buy more of them. Okay. But wait a minute. The company didn't become suddenly worth any more than it was before, right?
Right.
So I just made more out of the same value.
Right. It's the same thing. You're basically adding a number to the denominator, right? So if we're figuring this is the total value on top, is the numerator and then the denominator. So it's one of those things where if I have the total value is 1 and I have 2 shares that are for sale, right? The 2 shares themselves, 1 divided by 2, are each worth half, worth 50%, right? Or whatever it is, 50 cents, however you want to measure. But if I add a third share, now each of my shares are only worth 33%. So they went down from 50 to 33. So that's what they did to try and bolster the stock price, which makes no fucking sense.
As a strategy, like even in the most, general sense, it doesn't make any sense at all.
No,
I mean,
insane.
you can sell more shares, but
Right. The other thing
it doesn't do anything.
The other thing, just to remind everybody, the stock itself is basically Trump Media, which is just Truth Social, his social media network. It's like a Twitter knockoff. It really is just a knockoff of Twitter. And the thing about that is there's no value in that company. The company lost money last year. I think their gross revenue was only like $4 or $5 million.
Well, stop and think about it. Let's even backing away from the numbers. How many people have you heard say, "Oh my God, I read the greatest thing on Truth Social"?
Right.
Oh my gosh, you see what this person posted to Truth Social? Like, I don't hear people saying that. I mean, perhaps I don't run in those circles, but this is not a big winner in general.
I've been on it. It's weird. It's mostly like racist, white nationalists. It's like it's like the crazy uncle of Twitter. And Twitter's already really gotten really bad under Elon Musk. But like they don't even believe, the only person who really posts shit is Donald Trump, and everybody goes to see what he posts, and that's what all their viewers are there. They're just there for Trump and nothing else. And the thing about it is even when people post shit to each other or on Trump stuff, they don't post like sentences or paragraphs. They post memes that they saw. It's weird. It's like they have a weird, like, primitive language. You know, it's just bizarre shit. It's like reading hieroglyphics. But yeah, it's just bizarre. But yeah, so that was the first thing they did, was they added more shares, diluted the total value. Second thing they did is this, and this was kind of the thing everybody was sort of semi-predicting. So this type of company is a special acquisition. So you start a company, a shell company, you try to buy a company to get it put public. These have been really popular the last 5 or 6 years. Might actually be worth trying at some point. So what happens is that company then becomes public. It takes over that stock position on the New York Stock Exchange or NASDAQ. In this case, it was NASDAQ. And so it's on NASDAQ, and the shares, people bought into it, and it was totally overblown. It started out at, like, I think it got to like 60 a share, right? And when they factor in the total number of shares, you know, Trump owns like 60% of it, but he has like 114 million shares that he was given for this. So at 60, all of a sudden it's like $6 billion, right? But now the stock is way down. So when she says nearly 3 billion, it's actually higher than that. So let me see if we can get into a chart here. But yeah, it's really tanked. It tanked today, bad. I mean, it's, you know, it's great. I shorted it, so I'm happy about it. My account is way up this afternoon. Let me get into this chart real quick. As it loads. All right, then let me not do a candle because that'll confuse everybody. Here we go. So this is 1 month. This is today. Right. This is the last 5. I mean, it's way down. So now it's down to 22.83. So Trump shares are now worth maybe 2 point something billion. So it's over 3, almost 4 billion that he's lost. Now, granted, that was all in paper. He never had it. Now, with these shares, when he gets them, because what ended up happening when they first started doing this is the owners would get these shares, and then they'd immediately sell and tank the stock price because they just wanted to cash out and get their money, which is smart. That's what you do. But the SEC and FINRA figured out, well, no, we're not going to do that. So we're going to set a new filing where if you're an owner, right, and you're issued shares, you have to hold them for 6 months before you can cash them out. So you can't do a pump and dump and screw over the investors. So Trump is locked into these shares, him and all the other owners. They can't sell them. So they're watching this thing tank, and they can't do a thing about it. They can't bail out at any point. What they can do is you can get rid of that 6 month holding period if all the major shareholders, right, the owners, vote on it. And so that's what they're doing right now, is they're voting on it so that they can start to get their shares out now because they want to get it out for the money. But when you do that, it's a public filing. So the investors have to know about it first, and then you'll set a date.
But as soon as the investors see this, what are they going to do?
They're going to bail.
They're going to pull their money out.
So right now, analysts are predicting, right now it's at 22.83. It went down from 60 to 22.83. It is a third, almost, what it was. I mean, it's way the fuck down. And now they're estimating at 22, it probably will go down to like $2 a share in the next couple months.
I was going to say, my brain cannot think of the scenario in which this goes up.
No, I
can't concoct them.
I shorted the shit out of this. I'm doing great right now. So yeah, I'm happy about it. So Trump is, his stock's tanking while he's sitting in court falling asleep. It is just bad.
What are the odds there's anything sitting there by the time he can cash out?
Well, yeah, I mean, for me it doesn't really matter, because at the end of the day, what ends up happening is, well, I mean, by the time he gets there, even if they do it early, like you said, the investors will bail, it'll tank. If he gets to it, he's going to bail out and get all the money he can in cash, and it'll tank. So either way, if that happens, or they announce it, that they're officially going to vote on it, you know, my shares where I'm doing really well now, I'm going to go into making like a shit ton of money. So for me, it's all good news. Anybody who's shorted this, it's all good news. But for Donald Trump, it's bad. Plus, you got to factor in this. Let's say he gets the access to money. Let's say he gets it at where it's at now, and he cashes it out, the whole thing, the $2 billion that it's at now. $2 billion is a lot of money, right? You're thinking, great, it's pretty awesome. What you don't know is that when he cashes it out, that's all ordinary income tax. So if you figure that out,
Right, because let's pause there, because
Yeah.
he would not have held it for more than 1 year, right? 1 year is
Right.
like a magic. It's a magic amount
Right.
of time,
Mhm.
right? If you've had it for less than a year, it gets taxed at the regular rate,
Mhm.
as opposed to after a year,
Mhm.
you pay less in taxes. So that's why holding it longer, at least over a year, is to your advantage,
Right.
tax-wise.
So that's $700 million in taxes he have to pay to pull it out. So now it's $1.3 billion that he'd be pulling out. Okay. Then on top of that fact, he owes, if his appeals don't go through, which they probably won't for E. Jean Carroll and for the court, that's another $600 million. Right? So now it's $700 million is maybe all he can squeeze out of it, and he's going to need every penny of that for the election, for his legal fees, to pay off the debts on his businesses, which are all tanking, which are all heavily over leveraged. So even if he pulls his money out today, it's gone. I mean, he'll try to hold on to as much as he can, I'm sure, but it's gone. All it does is buy him some time. So we issued more shares to try and boost the stock. Stock still was tanking, right? That's what it did yesterday. Tank today. But to try and to boost it up, I woke up this morning to check my position, and the ticker had it for the after hours trading was up a little bit, and I was like, yeah, whatever, who cares? And they were like, well, Trump media made a big announcement this morning at 6:30 a.m. New York time, and this was it. It's just a fucking scam. I love this. Trump media shares tick higher amid plan to launch live TV streaming app. So they basically made a post and a thing where they said, hey, Trump Media Technology Group is planning to roll out a live TV streaming platform in phases, the Truth Social parent said on Tuesday. The social media company linked to former U.S. President Donald Trump will launch Truth Social's content delivery network for streaming live TV on the app for Android, iOS, and web in the first phase. It plans to release the streaming app for TV in the final third phase, the company said, without disclosing a timeline. It has carried out 6 months of testing of the technology, according to them. Shares of Trump Media rose slightly in the pre-market trading Tuesday, up 1.5% after the news, and then, as we just saw, immediately tanked. 15 or 14% today.
Oh my goodness.
Because it's bullshit. Oh, guys, we're gonna run it. We're gonna do TV and we're gonna do it on the streaming app and everything. And it's like, oh great, when are you gonna do it? We don't know, but we're gonna do it. It's gonna be great. You should invest now. Right before we get to a vote where we're gonna steal your fucking money and take the shares.
Oh my. Okay, so Duncan, for any of our viewers that are newbies to investing, when you said you shorted it, explain what that means you did.
Oh, okay. So when you short something, you're betting that it'll go down. Essentially, it's trust me, kids. It's speculation. It's more akin to gambling than investing. In this case, it was
Sure, because you might really not have enough information to have you don't really have a crystal ball on that. You're
right.
It's your best guess.
Right. Typically, when you do a short, so you'll buy a short contract. This is the most common ways. You'll buy a short contract. It's called a put contract. Because what it does is it gives you the right as the buyer to put the stock back onto the seller. So let's say I issue a put contract. Let's say I'm a big investor in the Donald Trump thing. I had shares. And I don't want to sell them, or I can't sell them for whatever reason at this moment in time. But I want to hedge my position in case they go down, right? So what I'll do is I'll write a contract to put on the shares, right? So let's say the shares are at $52, and I write a contract that says, okay, I will buy the shares at $50, and one contract is usually 100 shares. All right, and so between now and some certain date in the future, which is called the exercise date, you can make me buy those shares back from you at $50 a share. So Lacey buys the contract. So Lacey wants the shares to go down. So she's paid me money. So now I've got her cash that's in my pocket. She can't get it back. It's mine now. So that's how I hedge my position. So I still got some cash even if the stock tanks. Right? So I'm hedged out a little bit. It's not, a ton, but it's enough to, stop the bleeding some. But Lacey has the contract. So now Lacey's got it. It's 52, but the price she can put it back, the strike price is 50. So Lacey's sitting there going, okay, if it goes below 50, now she's starting to be in the money because she can then go, let's say it goes to 45. So Lacey can go buy 100 shares at 45 and then immediately turn around and make me buy them back from her at 50. So Lacey just made...
Because that's our arrangement. I let you utilize my money.
Mm-hmm.
And I tied my money up.
Right. Well, you gave me
I couldn't do anything with it till it went down to 50, but then
right.
I can force your hand and make you buy this from me.
Well, no, I wrote the contract because I'm trying to get the money in case it goes down. For me, though, if it goes...
Right, but then I can turn around and exercise the contract, and you
right.
don't really have a choice at that point because that was what you agreed to.
Right. Well, if it doesn't go down, she's never going to exercise because Lacey would be losing money. Right? And it wouldn't matter to me either way. So I would just get her cash and she'd be out. But if it goes down below that, then Lacey gets to exercise, or more commonly what happens is she'll just sell the contract back to me instead of going through the whole process of buying the shares and everything. And I'll just pay her what she'd normally get. And there's ways to calculate how that all works. There's models for how to do that. So, plus there's the time frame on the contract and all that. Lots of shit goes into this. So, the thing though is this, so let's say Lacey bought the contract from me for $500, okay? And now the shares go down and they're worth 45. Well, if Lacey exercises now at 45 or sells it back to me now, well, she's made $5 a share for 100 shares. She's made $500. So Lacey just broke even. She didn't make any money because I already have her $500. She just got it back from me. That's all that happened. So Lacey needs it to go below 45, below the strike price, and the cost of the contract before Lacey starts making money. So if it goes down to 40, now Lacey's selling them back to me for $1,000. She's up $1,000 or $500. She gets her $500 back plus then. So that's how those work. And then there are things called call options, which gives you the right to buy stocks from me at a cheaper price. And it's the reverse. You want the stock to go up. So, but that's one way to short a stock. There's other ways, but that's the more common one. But yeah, so that's what I did. So, but you have to register to do all that online and with a brokerage firm and all that, and it takes it. So if you're like, oh, I'm going to go do it right now, it'll take a brokerage firm at least 2 to 3 days to approve you of it before they'll let you do
plus,
it.
This is probably not something the beginner really wants to get into.
No,
you want to become really quite a bit more experienced before you're playing with that. But it's good to, for beginners to start to understand these sort of extra things that people do, for your own knowledge base, really.
Yeah, I'd go on to like Google Finance or Yahoo Finance. I like Yahoo Finance. It's a little bit easier to use. And you can do mock portfolios on there, and you can buy puts and calls and say, oh, if I bought $1,000 put or a call, what would it do? Or $1,000 in puts and calls, what would they do? And then you can see what it does and whether or not your strategy worked. So.
Right.
Yeah, but I honestly, I don't recommend buying them unless you know what you're doing because they are volatile and they're very dangerous. And you can lose money really fast.
And you would have to be prepared to be watching something much more carefully than just sort of like your average sort of buy and hold sort of situation.
Right. And since I'm on the West Coast, that's why I was up at 6 a.m. this morning. Because if it shot back up and I was going to look like I might lose money or be in danger, then I need to bail. And if for some reason it just totally tanked this morning, and I'm thinking, oh, it's bottomed out, right? Once again, I'm guessing that it's bottoming out, but it's like, boom, it goes down to like $5 a share. I'm gonna be like, fucking bail now and take all my money and get it out, because you want to time it.
Right.
It takes a lot of effort and a lot of research to do this properly, and it's something like Lacey said, you got to be constantly watching it. I mean, I've got alerts on my phone, so if it hits certain prices, like if I bail all of a sudden, you know what I'm doing. I'm getting my money out so I can win.
Duncan just in the middle of filming something, so
we gotta take a break. It's short sell. That's okay. The market's closed. Nothing's gonna happen right now. So I'm just saying.
Nothing's gonna happen right now. We're filming after the market is closed.
So anyway, bummer for Trump and all that. But you learned something about short selling, so now you know. So when somebody says I'm shorting this, that's what they're saying. I'm betting against it. I'm betting it'll go down. So